Hello everyone, I'm back doing another video, but this video is going to be a redo. I did a video about a year ago over the OpenInApp functionality built into SharePoint that we are going to employ in PowerApps and PowerAutomate. Now, the information I put in this video is going to be the exact same as before, but I had some users report that there was a lot of background noise, and because of that background noise, they couldn't hear some of the instructions I gave, so it made it hard to replicate what they're trying to do. So, without no further ado, let's switch over my desktop and we'll go ahead and get started. As you see on my desktop here, I got my app up. Now, this app, we're not going to go through everything in the app. I'm just going to cover the OpenInApp functionality. So hopefully I can keep this video relatively short. Okay, so for the OpenInApp functionality to work, all you do is you actuate it with a button. So I'm going to go to our approval screen here, and hopefully I have something in here to show you. Okay, as you can see, there is 4 items in our list. And they got different things here. So we're not going to go over all this, everything that's in this dashboard here. What I want to show you is this button right here. Okay, so let's go into play mode. Thought I was in play mode to start with, but I wasn't. All right, so as you see, when you hover over it, it tells you the file name and where it's located. Okay, and they all do that. So in order to use OpenInApp, first off, your OneDrive has to be working. Now, keep in mind, even though your OneDrive say may be working, it may not be. When you set this up, go ahead and try to open. If it doesn't open, just just quit OneDrive and then re-sign back in again, and that usually fixes it. Okay. Now, the way this works is when you click on the button, it's gonna prompt you with open in OneDrive, and of course it opened on my other screen so you can't see it. But it says open OneDrive, authoring US 101 gateway, blah 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 blah. And then there's a checkbox here that says always allow authoring blah 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 to open links in this type of associated app. I always check that box just so I don't have to hit it the one time, and then it says open OneDrive. So you click open OneDrive, and what it's doing is it's copying the file from SharePoint into your OneDrive into a temporary folder, and then it's going to open up that folder and then open up that file. In order for you to use Adobe Acrobat or whatever you're using, it has to have a local copy. You cannot open it from SharePoint because that is a cloud resource. Okay. So what it's going to do is it's eventually going to open up. Okay, I had to pause the video for a second because I had some technical glitches in my app, so I repaired them. And you'll notice that a gear has suddenly appeared next to my Adobe icon. That is a flow that I made that actually corrects the document ID so that way this thing will work right. And I typically put these in all my apps because sometimes the file changes and stuff like that. So when I clicked on this button right here, it opened up my file on another screen, which I'm going to drag over here so you can see it. This is the file, and you'll notice, now I don't have Adobe Acrobat on my personal computer, so I went ahead and I have a program that works just as good. It's called PDF Gear. It's free, and it works fairly well. You see it's got a lot of different things you can do on it. It looks a little different, but it does the same thing, right? It enables me to open up a PDF and edit it as I need to. Now, this document is just a document that I had from my last job. It's a charter document, but it's, as you can see, you can edit it and everything, and then whatever you put in here to, actually it does have signatures according to the top there. Maybe I didn't go down far enough. Look on the last page, that's probably where they're at. Yep, there they are. As you can see, you can actually digitally sign your stuff. Okay. And then once you're done, you close it and you hit yes to save it. and then hit save again. And what it'll do is it'll copy that file back into SharePoint and overwrite the file. So when you open up the next time, it'll have your updates in it. Okay. And that's the cool thing about Open an App. You don't have to have it on your computer in order to sign it. You can have it in SharePoint now. It does all the backend stuff you still have to download it, open it up in your local drive, save it in your local drive and re-upload it to SharePoint and overwrite the old file. But the Open an App functionality does it for you for the most part. I mean, you still gotta do your file stuff and you gotta save it, but everything else is done automatically through automation. Okay. So now we're gonna go over how this works. Okay. So what I do is so if we look at the button here, so let's click on this button here and I'll open up my formula bar a little bit here. You'll see I'm using a launch, which basically means it's open up a URL. Now the key behind this whole Open an App functionality is this right here. This first part right here, this OD open file. Okay. That tells the browser that we're getting ready to open a file, and the parameters for that file or for that call is behind the question mark. Okay. You see the question marks right there at the end of the highlight part. There's 7 parameters. Okay. You got file ID, which is your document ID, your site ID, your list ID, your user email, whoever's logged in, the person's ID who's logged in, the web URL of your site, and it has to be your site, not your library or list or whatever. And then, of course, your file name with extension. Okay. Now, you'll see most of these are all in variables. Okay. I didn't want to make the call look messy. I mean, I could have put them in there directly, but this way, if you modify them, like if you change libraries or you change sites or whatever, it's a lot easier to update if they're in variables, because then it updates it everywhere. Because this call is not just in one spot. It's in multiple spots all over this thing. So variables are preferable. Now, I store most of my variables in the onStart and the app formulas because that way it's centrally located. Okay. Now, the only 2 things in here that are not variables is this first line and the last one. And we'll go over that here in a little bit. All right. So let's go over the app. Let's go over to the app, and I put my stuff in formulas. And if you look right here, starting right here and down, those are my 5 variables I use. Okay. Now, finding this stuff is fairly simple. Okay. May take a little doing, but so first thing is site ID. Okay. Site ID isn't very easy to find but if you know how to get to it, it's easy. Okay. So the site I use is called Solution Tester. It's just something I made for myself. Okay. So I'm gonna open up another tab here so we can show you. We're gonna go into my site, okay, and let it load. And then at the end of that URL, you're gonna put /_API site ID. Okay, just like that. Move my mouse out of the way here. Okay. And then you're just gonna hit enter. Now, don't worry, I'll put all the stuff I talk about in my video in the description. All right, so if you look through all this stuff, this looks like a lot of gobbledygook, right? What you're looking for is this right here. Okay, this little DID. It's at the very, very end. Well, the number preceding it, which would be this number right here, this Guid, is what you're looking for. Okay, you're just going to highlight it and copy it. And then you're going to copy it into your variable. And then, of course, because it's a Guid, you're going to put it in double quotes and you're going to put it inside curly braces because all Guids have to be in a record format. Okay. So you put it just like this. Next thing is your site URL. Okay. That's easy enough, right? You just copy your site URL. Now remember, your site URL is the only thing, unless you have subsites, which isn't generally allowed in SPO, But if you have a subsite, then, or don't have a subsite, your site is only sites slash or teams slash and the first thing after it. Okay. So let's go back down here to my thing here. So you'll notice this here is my root. Okay. This is my tenant. Then you got sites, and then you got solution tester, and solution tester is the site. Okay. That's where you stop. Okay. So like over here, this other browser window I got open right now, which I looked at it initially. So if I come up here like this and go back to my site and open up my library. So if I go to site contents, yes, I didn't design my site. I just use it for data. We open up our library here. If you look at the URL, there's not a real break to tell you what is the site and what's the library portion of it, right? Oh my God, stop popping up. All right, so the site portion is this part, okay? Now, this is the library portion, okay? And then after that, the forms and all items.aspx, that's your views portion of it. And of course, the items are in the actual library. So when I say a site URL, I'm only talking about this portion of the URL. If you include all the rest of this, it will fail. I promise you. Okay. So you don't want that. Okay. So let's go back into our app again. Okay. So that's the first three. Okay. Now your list ID. Now I know we're working on a library, but sure, everything's a list, whether it's a library or a list. Okay, so we need to get this ID from it. So what you do is you go into your, go bring this back over since I already got it. Wait, is that it? No, that's something else. All right, so let's bring back our library here. Now, the easiest way to get your URL isn't from the front side. You got to go to the back side. So you got to have some kind of admin rights, okay? Because you got to get into the list settings, okay? So if you go into your gear, go into library settings, and then more library settings, it's going to take you into the backside, okay? And in here, now, just when you load the settings, it shows you your ID right here, but it's all like ugly looking, right? So if you want it to be pretty, all you have to do is go to your advanced settings, let it load, takes a second, go down to the bottom, and just click OK. Do not hit cancel. If you do cancel, this won't work. Now you look at your ID now, where it says list equals up here. Now it's actually in curly braces for you. So all you just do is you capture all those curly braces and all the Guid and copy it. Go back to your app and you paste it in there in your list ID inside double quotes, just like you did with your site ID. Okay. Now your user ID and your user email is easy because it's all self-contained inside the user function. Okay. Which is this right here. Okay. And you just going to go .EntraObjectID for your user ID, and then you .email for your email. And that concludes your 5 variables. Okay. Now, the other 2 elements that we need for this call is the file name and the document ID. Now, we're going to cover the document ID first because it's a little more complicated than the name. The name's really simple. Okay. Now, there's 2 different ways you can populate this gallery. Okay. You can pull it straight from SharePoint, or you can pull it into a collection like I did. I like the collection method because then I don't have to deal with delegation. Now, if you know for a fact you're never going to get over 2,000 items, then either way, there's no benefit to go either one way or the other. Okay. But if you're going to be over 2,000 items, a collection will definitely benefit you. It may cause a little performance lag, but it's very, very minor, and no one's going to notice it if they don't know it's not supposed to be there. Okay. So as you'll notice right here, I got my data source is a collection. Okay. And what I do on the app on start, you can put collections in the formulas, but you have to do it a certain way. You have to do what's called a user defined function, which I'm trying to get my head wrapped around that still. I haven't had a chance to dig into it. So down at the bottom here, you'll notice this right here. This part of the code right here. This is my collection. Okay. Let's not use that. That's got more than one thing going on there. We'll use the refresh up here. It shows the same thing. Okay. So what this is doing is I'm creating a manual library basically inside the tool. Okay. I'm doing what's called a for all. It's a looping thing where it goes through. Now, I could just do a clear collect if I wanted to, but this is the way I chose to do it. Okay, so it's a for all, the library name, collect, the name of the collection, which is called library, and then I'm naming each thing and what part of the record I want. Okay, so the name is the file name with the extension, file ID is the document ID, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is what's showing in my gallery right now. It ain't going directly to SharePoint. Okay, I I prefer using collections. Some people don't. You know, each their own. Okay, so the two elements I need are these two right here. But to get the document ID, it's not a simple thing. Okay, you have to use a flow in order to get that document ID. Okay, now if I bring up my library again, that same window has my flow in it that I use. Okay, now as part of my upload procedure, I actually get the document ID and upload it, but here it'll show you by itself. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm getting the files that are missing their document IDs, coming down here, and I'm doing a simple call, a get process to get that document ID. Okay, so let me edit this flow real quick. This is the run result, so it's a little hard to read. This is a little easier to show you on the edit side. So what it's doing, this is triggered from PowerApps, so I only do one item here. Okay, so I am filtering my library so that way the ID equals whatever ID I pass to it. Okay, so it'll only ever return one item. Okay, and then I come down to my apply to each, which you have to do because this always spits out an array, whether it's got one item or 500 items. Okay. And then that one ID that I found, I'm going to run this API call right here. Okay. Now what this is doing is saying it's going into the library, it's getting the items, and then it's filtering the items by this ID, and then it's going into the file side of that item. Remember, a library's items is the files. Okay. It's not like a list. Okay, where it just has a row of data is the item. No, the file actually is the item. Okay, and we're telling it to go to the file, and we only want to return the unique ID property and the name property. Now, the name property isn't required, but I use it for troubleshooting to make sure I got the right file. Okay, so I bring both back. Okay, and then it stores it into the action on the output side. So now I'm going to take that unique ID that I just pulled. I'm going to apply it to, don't shut it. And I'm going to apply it to the document ID field in SharePoint. Since you can't change the file once it's there, it's fine to just store it in SharePoint. So what I'm doing is if you look at this call, it's the body of get file ID, which is that action right above it. And I'm grabbing the array of D, and then I'm grabbing, since it's not a nested array, I can go D/unique ID and it'll grab the unique ID, which is text. Okay. And then it's going to place it in this column and save it. Okay. And then then what you do is you hit refresh and it'll pull that data in, and now we can complete our call. Okay. So now let's go back to our Power App, and that's what this is pulling. Okay. So now if we go back here, so if we open up so if I show you all the data from my collection here, you'll see that, oops, I have to do this. My file ID pulls up back these GUIDs, okay? Every time I upload a file, it grabs the GUID, and then of course it has the file name automatically. So we open this up a little bit. You'll see that it's the whole file name with extension. And when you click on that button, it's everything, okay? It does everything in one big old long string and sends it to the browser, and then the browser knows to go to, it knows it needs to go to SharePoint, copy that file down to a temporary folder, and then open up, and then that OD open actually opens up the file for you. And then you type in there what you need to update, you save and close, and then when you close it, that signals OneDrive to copy that file back up to SharePoint and overwrite the original file, because they're going to have the same file name, so it's going to automatically know it needs to overwrite. And that's how the whole thing works. Now, if you have any questions or comments, put them in the comments below, because I'd love to hear your feedback, positive or negative. I'm fairly new at this. I've been only doing it for a couple years, so and I don't get on here very much. As you can see, I don't have a lot of videos. I only have like 45. I know people got hundreds. So if I can improve this in any way, shape, or form, please let me know. As far as the rest of this goes, I'm not going to go over the whole app. There's no reason to. This is the part I wanted to show you, is the OpenInApp. You can literally use this in any app and it'll work, as long as you're opening files. Okay. You have to use a library. You cannot put files in a list. It will not work. It needs an ID to grab, and there's no IDs inside of a list attachment. It's just a folder with files in it. There's no way to manage it. There's no way to use it. Okay, so it has to be in a library. And there's other places in the app that I use this. Okay, like I can go in here to status and submissions, right? In here, I got another one right here. It's got a button here that shows the same items. Okay, I got my rejected right here. Same thing. If I want to open the file, I just click right here, but I don't have any rejected right now, so nothing's showing up. I think there was one other spot I did it in. No, I didn't include it in this thing. In my app that I have on the Army side, I actually have where you can open up all your files that you've ever uploaded into this tool and look at all your files and manage them. If you want to get rid of them, you can. If you want to add more, you can. This app is literally the very first version of this I built, and it's just for getting approval signed. That's all it's for. And then of course it keeps a permanent record in there, so you can always go back at any time and grab it by going to your status and submissions here and going in here, and you can download it. All you have to do to download it is open it up. Okay, that was different. Oh, there it goes. Open it up in your, in your thing here, and then you just go up to the files, save as, and save it as whatever you want. You can re-download it. Now, the way my tool works too is it actually sends you an email, and the link to the downloading the file is in the email. So you can do that too, but that's a whole different thing. So I'm going to call this good. And if you have any questions or comments, please put it in the comments below the video. And I will, when I go to publish this, I will go ahead and make sure I have all the stuff that I discussed in here, like all the little different code sequences and stuff. I'll make sure I put it in the description so that way you have it. So, and I think that's about everything. So I hope you guys have enjoyed my video, and I hope you have a great day.